everyone, and welcome to yet another Winchester Wednesdays. I am your host, Winchester 572, and audio seems to be working this time better than last. So, now that the holiday season is over and some people are a little bit less busy, we are continuing with the reading. So, I'm sorry that it took so long to do, but better late than never, I always say. I'm not as funny as I used to be. I swear I'm not. But yeah, stuff going on with me that you guys probably don't care about. Drove up to Chicago to return mixing console, spent some time with Skyrays, went to Midwest Fur Bowl. That was pretty fun up there. Did some bowling, found out that apparently my bowling is like my trap shooting. First 3 times I suck ass, and then about the 3rd time I throw the ball down the lane, I get nothing but like strikes. So yeah, but that was fun. And then truck broke down in Kenosha after doing some stuff for Cider Fest and Winnie City and Painted Desert Fur Con and whatnot. And Skyrays was gracious enough to run me up some parts and whatnot and spend some time with me and drive me around while I was stuck up there to get some parts, and then yeah. And then a very fun ride back, and yeah, getting back was at 4 in the morning. Yeah, that was exciting. But no, so getting the truck, starting to get the truck worked on, got all the parts together now, and just need to find some time to actually fix it. So without further ado, let's get into the call.
Hero Beats still makes music. And it's... Oh.
Winchester, you're not a singer. Stop.
Run, it's a trap.
I'm glad you cut me off. That was good timing. Good.
Perfect.
Keep doing that. I said nothing. Don't talk about me.
Oh yeah, Little Caesar.
Oh, we'll talk all about you.
So now, welcome our lovely panel of guests here. Starting off, we have my lovely co-hosts, Crazy Mad Captain and not Orange Shirt Guy, Skyrays.
Yeah.
Cause screw that
Yes.
guy.
Things. Everything exploded. Are you on fire?
So,
Very.
Yes. Yeah, I'm kind of on fire. Next up, we have our wonderful fanfic editor, Double R Forest.
I am looking at the secondary title that CMC put in our announcements Discord channel. It's very painful to look at because it's so true.
And next up, we have Coal Dust.
You would pick me right about now when I was about to do a thing. And by that, I mean, like, say stuff into the microphone while it wasn't listening to me. And now it's listening to me, so I can't say things and fail. Curse you, Winchester. Curse you.
And last but certainly not least, we have Sora.
And
Oh yeah, I'm back. Sorry. Hi. Yeah, sorry. I was trying to fix audio because it was really choppy.
Oh, that was probably me with my Focusrite.
Okay.
I think it's fixed now.
Okay. Good. We're all good. Yeah, I hope so.
But yeah. So, a couple of fun things. For those of you watching, which doesn't look like to be almost anybody outside of this call, there are a couple of servers that just got launched that I figured I'd advertise a little bit. Forest Rain just released her Minecraft server, so if you're interested in playing on that, I guess hit me up and I can get you in there.
she plays Minecraft?
Yes, like that's all that she's been doing outside of work for the last 3 days, and I'm just like, oh my god. But and then also Skyrays just set up a public 7 Days to Die server under the name of Forest Rain Media. So, if you guys want to join up with that, we're having a lot of fun. Got some stuff started in that world, so. And
Wait,
for once,
what's
the server
it called?
actually seems to be somewhat stable.
Wait, what is that server for?
7 Days to Die.
Some what now?
7 Days to Die.
Oh, okay, yeah, I
So,
7 days to live. They all died.
alrighty. So, does anybody else have anything to say before we get started with this reading?
Help! I'm being held hostage.
I am.
Same.
God damn it, I don't have a shotgun down here to timingly use.
You forgot to set up the shotgun mic.
Hold on.
Hey,
Let me help you with that. Hold on.
What the hell?
Fine.
Baby shotgun. Yeah, I'm disappointed.
That was a pistol. He's going to go get it.
Look, man,
No,
if you're
he
gonna
does-
do that, you gotta go big or go home. Come on now.
Hey, I
You make
can't
this-
go big because I'm not allowed to buy big.
I kind of worry because if he does a cocking of the shotgun, I might get a boner.
Oh God.
I thought this is PG.
Oh, there it comes. Oh shit. Great. I have to be in that mood.
Yes.
Glad
yes,
you
do.
said words before I started drinking my drink. I don't want Mountain Dew out my nose.
Okay. She's already back in business.
Okay. Yes. So
Now
Winchester,
everybody
did
get
you
back into place.
Winchester,
Who is
did you
just-
actually set
okay.
up the scene you need?
Oh, you can take me anywhere
Oh yeah,
you
it's all
want.
set up.
Okay.
God.
Good. Fun.
I just realized I was making a bunch of Foley into a muted microphone. Yay!
Good job.
Dumbass.
I was just like, Winchester, is it time for Foley now?
Who has bells?
What's Jingle Bells? 'Tis the season no longer.
Tis the season no longer.
Alrighty. So, I was hoping to get some coherent talking, but I guess I'll just go right on into the reading here. So,
So,
What's
Oh
coherent?
no.
is everybody ready?
Yes.
No. God
Get
damn.
started.
This is gonna go horrible. I hope
I'll
you
take it
know
that
this.
Sora's
Shut
ready.
up, Cole.
I'm crying. The call.
So as you guys all know, please mute your mics when you're not reading, etc., etc. Yeah. Alrighty, so let's start. Narrating our wonderful fanfic tonight will be myself, Winchester. Playing Rainbow Dash and Rarity will be Sora. Playing Scootaloo and Cookie Crumble will be CMC. Playing Sweetie Belle will be Double R. Toe Tapper will be played by Skyrays. Autumn Wing will also be played by myself. And Hondo Flanks will be played by Coldust.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
and now I guess we wait for a minute.
Why are we waiting? What?
So, beer's good. I actually thought about inviting him back tonight. You might as well talk. We're in a holding pattern.
Oh.
I was like, I typed in the Discord, and I was like,
Oh,
remember
wait.
when we had Larsus as a narrator?
Does this mean that I can actually go and pee?
Oh, you two!
Yeah, I do.
If you do it
You
very
just- you don't-
quickly.
You don't read
We
till
were-
near the
We were
end,
all
so
hanging
go.
on the call for like 15 minutes before we started today.
Well, yes. However, the thing is, like, before we started here, I was in a call in, like, a model train Discord where basically nothing was happening and I could have gone to the bathroom, but I didn't have to go then.
Your
Okay,
part
I'm
of
back.
the reading isn't until later, so you can go.
Anyway, are you ready?
Yes.
Are you
All right.
sure
Aye,
about
aye,
that?
Captain.
Yes, I'm sure.
Okay.
Okay. Now
Winchester,
everybody can
kick us
mute
off.
while Coldust does his thing. So, alrighty. So I already read through that. We can save that for later. Yes. So now getting on with the actual story. 3 Gems on a Scooter by Raylan Cryos. Ice Cream. Rainbow Dash and Rarity stayed at the foot of the stairs for a few more moments, both of them sneaking a furtive glance towards the guest room. Rainbow broke the silence.
She's really hurting, isn't she? Yes, Rainbow Dash, she is. Why do you think she hasn't found anyone who wants to adopt her? She's an awesome little filly. I can't believe there's no one in Ponyville who has room for her in their lives.
Verbalizing the idea of how lonely Scoodloo must feel made her wince, and she turned her attention back upstairs. As Rarity sat listening to her friends pondering, it occurred to her Rainbow didn't talk much about her family. She mentioned her dad on occasion, but never her mother. She didn't want to pry, so she never pressed the issue, but her own private theory was that Rainbow was so steadfastly loyal precisely because she knew the painful sting of being let down by someone you placed your trust in. In another situation, Rainbow finally realizing what she had been struggling with would have given her some small measure of satisfaction. As it was, Rarity could only place a gentle hoof on Rainbow's shoulder in an effort to sympathize.
I know that wasn't easy for you, dear. Thank you for talking with her. Yeah, sure. Hey, listen. I know we haven't exactly been on the best of terms lately. Oh, that's an understatement.
A quick glare from Rainbow silenced her, and Rainbow continued.
Yeah, well, look. If there's anything I can do, I want to help. I hate not knowing what to do. There's gotta be something I can help to fix this. Maybe I could take her somewhere to cheer her up. What if I take her flying tomorrow?
Rarity paused to consider the offer. Under normal circumstances, she would have agreed that flying with Rainbow would cure whatever ailed Scoodloo. But these were anything but normal circumstances.
While I appreciate the thought, I'm not sure it's the best idea right now. So, what am I supposed to do? Just leave her hanging? That's not my style.
Rainbow waved a hoof 2 inches in front of Rarity's snout.
Hello? Element of loyalty here?
In response, Rarity batted away the annoying intrusion into her personal space.
I am acutely aware of that, but I think right now she needs more time to digest everything. She's been through quite a lot today. We all have.
Rainbow could only sigh in agreement. Rarity wasn't wrong, and that infuriated her. She was used to solving her problems instantly, mostly by kicking them. Not that there was an element of patience, but if there was, it definitely would not have gone to her. Rarity interrupted Rainbow's train of thought.
You should go get some sleep, dear. I'm sure she is taken care of tonight. I do thank you for all your help today. Are you sure there's nothing I can do? Yes, my dear, I'm sure.
Rainbow studied her friend for any hint of deception, but finding none, she was forced to concede that she was pretty worn out from the day's events. Reluctantly, Rainbow walked to the door. One last thought hit her before she left.
All right. You're a lot better at taking care of kids than I am. Thank you.
Rarity was visibly taken aback by Rainbow's statement.
No problem, Rears. Let me know if she's feeling better, okay? You'll be the first to know.
With one temperamental Pegasus in her life temporarily taken care of, Rarity went upstairs to check on the other one. She gently knocked on the door to Sweetie's room After hearing a small shuffle, she opened the door slowly. The room was perfectly still. The only hint that there was any occupant was the small tuft of purple mane protruding from the lump beneath the blankets. Sweet Scootaloo's, the guest room, felt cold. Despite all the windows being closed, there was a distinct chill wafting through the air, Rarity thought.
Scootaloo?
She whispered, lest she wake up a sleeping filly. Her question evoked no response, but the silence led her to believe Scootaloo hadn't quite fallen asleep.
If there's anything you need, please don't hesitate to let me know.
The only response was the unmistakable sound of Scootaloo's stomach growling.
When did you eat last?
Finally, Scootaloo poked her head out from under the covers. She shrugged her shoulders, but offered no words.
How about some ice cream?
Rarity remembered her thought back in the cave. Scootaloo still didn't say anything, but at another growl of her stomach prompted her to climb out of bed. The pair made their way wordlessly to the kitchen. Almost every pony knew that Rarity was an expert in fashion. What significantly fewer ponies realized was that she was also an expert in using ice cream as an emotional balm. The psychologically restorative properties of ice cream were not, in fact, universal across flavors, Rarity believed. For disappointment, one should seek comfort in the satisfying familiarity of chocolate ice cream. For minor aches and pains, such as a friend canceling plans, some form of vanilla was most likely in order. And for heartache, the levels that Scootaloo was feeling, only the inherent joy of chocolate chip cookie dough would do. After giving Scootaloo a few minutes to seek solace in a bowl of ice cream, Rarity spoke up.
Would you like to talk about it?
Scootaloo tightened her grip on the spoon while refusing to look at the mare sitting next to her.
About what?
She hoped her false naivety would work in her favor.
About what's bothering you?
Nothing's bothering me.
Scootaloo clenched the spoon so hard her hoof started turning red. Scootaloo's deflection evoked numerous memories of Sweetie making similar protests in her case. They were almost always followed by a but. Instead of retorting that Scootaloo was liable to break the spoon if she squeezed it any harder, Rarity ignored the obvious lie and just waited for Scootaloo to recant. Hearing no response, the little filly looked up for a second before turning her gaze back to her bowl of ice cream. She sighed and let go of her spoon.
Rainbow doesn't want me.
Scootaloo sniffed. Those words hung in the air until she spoke again.
Whenever I had to leave, I always told myself it didn't matter because someday I'd move in with her and then my life would get better. I just thought for sure that Rainbow Dash would want to adopt me. I thought that as much fun as we have together, she would say yes. I mean, we're already sisters.
Being an honorary sister is one thing, but a caregiver is an entirely different role altogether.
Rarity was careful to try and not sound condescending.
What about you and Sweetie Bow?
Scootaloo looked up at Rarity with a heartbreaking sense of wanting, clearly evident on her young face.
What do you mean, my dear?
She stays here with you a lot. Aren't you kind of a caregiver then?
Rarity balked and jerked her head back in surprise. She had never thought of herself as Sweetie Belle's caregiver. Babysitter, maybe. Sister, absolutely. But not caregiver. Nevertheless, she couldn't find fault with Scootaloo's argument.
Well, I mean, yes, but that's just for visits and when Mother and Father are on vacation.
What if something happened to them?
Scootaloo, that's a terrible thing to say.
I'm sorry. Didn't mean it like that. I just... If you had to take care of Sweetie Belle like a parent, would you?
Of course I would, but
It must be nice to have someone who would do that for you.
Rarity couldn't think of anything to say in response, and that the thought troubled her as much as Scudlu's pain. So instead, she borrowed a page from Rainbow Dash School of Confrontation, changing the subject.
I was thinking maybe tomorrow we go find you a dance instructor.
Scudlu shrugged.
It's not like it's gonna matter. Nobody's gonna adopt me because they like my dancing.
I sure certainly hope not. That sounds like an absolute awful reason to adopt some pony.
Rarity hoped to lighten the oppressive pall that had been a cast over the room with that statement. Scudlu tilted her head and looked up at Rarity, who merely smiled warmly. She opened her mouth like she was about to add something, but it turned out only to be a half-hearted sigh.
Sure, whatever.
I think we could both use some sleep. It's been a long day, hasn't it?
Scudlu looked down at the brown syrupy remnants of her frosty treat.
Yeah, let me just drink this.
The request was followed by a loud slurping sound like a creamy treat, which left a large white splotch on her muzzle.
Oh, dear, you got something here. Let me...
Rarity reached for the splotch, napkin in hoof. She preemptively paused as she anticipated Scudlu's flinching an obligatory protest that she would take care of it herself. Much to her surprise, Scudlu stayed still, letting Rarity wipe her snout free of ice cream.
I'll take care of the dishes. Go brush your teeth and I'll be back to tuck you in.
This time, Scudlu's independent streak did assert itself.
I don't need any pony to tuck me in.
Very well then.
Rarity quickly rinsed and dried the dishes with an assist from some very practical unicorn magic. Scudlu brushed her teeth with a similar efficiency, minus the magic, and the pair reunited upstairs to the guest room at roughly the same time.
Is there anything else you need?
Rarity asked from the doorway as Scudlu climbed back into bed.
No.
Sweet dreams, Scootaloo. I'll see you in the morning.
As she turned to leave, Rarity heard a small voice call out to her.
Rarity?
Yes.
I'm sorry I made you run around all over the place today, and getting you muddy and dirty and stuff.
Rarity turned around so that Scudlu could see that she was sincere about her next statement.
It's quite all right, dear. I'm just glad you're safe.
Scudlu didn't say anything else, and Rarity again took that as her cue to leave. Before she could close the door, a small voice again called out.
Rarity?
Yes.
If you really wanted to, you could tuck me in, I guess.
Rarity opened the door, flaring her horn slightly so it might serve as a nightlight as she approached the bed.
Of course, my dear.
Trust me. It was only exhaustion that led Rarity to sleep as well she did, but the sound of her alarm going off roused her from her slumber, and she was forced to drag herself out of bed. A large cup of coffee later, she set about making breakfast. Scudlu was even quieter than usual during their morning meal, if such a thing were possible. If there was anything positive about her attitude, it was that she didn't seem sad. But that was countered by the fact that she could scarcely be said to be exhibiting any feelings at all. It was as if she just shut down her emotions. Rarity didn't press. Everything she had read that sometimes children needed some space, and this seemed like one of those times. Scootaloo wasn't the most open pony on a good day. Right now, she was processing some pretty heavy emotions. Therefore, Rarity decided that the best thing she could do was demonstrate that she'd be there when Scootaloo was ready to talk. After polishing off her bowl of oatmeal, Scootaloo trudged off to school, leaving Rarity alone in the boutique. Under normal circumstances, Rarity might have neglected her work in order to spend part of her day researching the various dance instructors in Ponyville, so that she might fulfill her promise to resume Scootaloo's dance lessons. But, as luck would have it, she already knew an excellent dance instructor. Toe Tapper was one of those infuriatingly talented ponies who seemed natural at everything. He would be the first to protest that characterization, however. His lanky stature made it difficult for him to play most sports, for instance, and he would often joke that he couldn't do even the simplest mathematics without a calculator. But neither of those things masked the fact that he was both a member of the Ponytones as well as a dance instructor. What he lacked in athletic or mathematical ability, he made up for in natural talent, all things musical. His natural tenor allowed him to sing either countertenor or baritone if a song required, and his innate understanding of rhythm made him proficient enough in dance to earn a living as a dance as well as a music instructor. He could also play pretty much any musical instrument and was fairly competent, if amateur, visual artist. If he wasn't so nice and self-effaceting, Rarity might have hated him. She was under no illusion that resuming Scootaloo's dance lessons would make her happy. The filly was carrying far too much baggage for that to be the case. But it was a small thing that she could do to brighten up Scootaloo's that made it worth doing regardless of any other motivations. School didn't hold much interest for Scootaloo, though the lessons and her friends did give her something to think about, and for that she was grateful. The Crusaders left school as a trio, just like always, only this time instead of going to the clubhouse on Sweet Apple Acres to plan future crusades, do homework, or just be friends, they found Rarity waiting for them just off the path that led them to and from the schoolhouse. The filly galloped over as Sweetie called out,
Hi, Rarity. What are you doing here?
Rarity wasn't sure what she should say. On one hoof, even if the Crusaders didn't know that Scootaloo liked to dance, it was hardly the kind of personal information that needed to be kept a secret. But Scootaloo was fiercely private, and this was not the time to be damaging Scootaloo's trust. Thankfully, Scootaloo answered for her before the silence became awkward.
Rarity and I have stuff to do. See you guys later?
Apparently, satisfied with the vague answer, both fillies nodded and scurried off with a quick wave over their shoulders.
So why are you here?
Scootaloo asked warily once her friends were a safe distance away.
Well, I promised to find you a dance instructor, and I think I have. Of course, if you don't like him, we could try somewhere else.
Oh, I thought this was maybe more stupid adoption stuff.
Rarity again wasn't sure how to respond to that, so she settled on a gentle,
Come, dear.
and the pair began their short walk to Toe Tapper's dance studio. Though he was surprised to see his fellow Ponytone outside of rehearsal and showing up unannounced at his studio, he enthusiastically waved Rarity and Scootaloo over with a big smile as they walked in the door. There was nothing particularly distinguishing about the space that Toe Tapper used for his dance studio. The floors were wooden and well scuffed, the walls covered in mirrors so that students could gauge their form from multiple angles, and a small table in the corner housed a stereo for playing music. That was it. Rarity trotted over and gave Toe Tapper a perfectionary hug.
Toe Tapper, this is Scootaloo.
She gestured to the filly, who had taken up residence just to the left of her back legs.
We'd like to sign up for dance lessons.
The lanky blue pony trotted around Rarity and offered Scootaloo a hoof shake.
It's nice to meet you, Scootaloo. Have you ever danced before?
A little? I used to take dance lessons.
Scootaloo returned the shake, but was unwilling to make eye contact. Lots of little fillies took dance lessons to help improve their self-esteem, so Toe Tapper was used to dealing with students who were a bit closed off. so Scootaloo's behavior was nothing he hadn't dealt with before.
Well, it's wonderful to have you back then. Maybe you're ready for the advanced class. Do you have a routine prepared?
No, I guess you'd better put me in the beginner's class.
Scootaloo might have been willing to enroll in the beginner's class, just happy to get to dance again, but Rarity was adamant that her talent was too great to be consigned to an entry level.
Could you please give us a moment?
Rarity and Scootaloo retreated to a corner of the room as the teacher busied himself with sweeping the studio floor.
Scootaloo, you're a very talented dancer. I highly doubt you belong in a beginner's class.
But I don't have anything prepared.
The dancing you were doing the other day, was that a rehearsed routine?
No, I was just fooling around.
A smile began to form on Rarity's face.
Excellent. I assume you can fool around to a different song?
Sure, if I'm alone, but he teaches ponies how to dance.
Scootaloo stared down at the floor.
I'll just embarrass myself.
She gave the same heartbreaking sigh Rarity had heard far too often. Rarity used a hoof to gently push Scootaloo's snout upwards so that she might see the conviction in her next statement.
You are very talented, Scootaloo. I promise you won't embarrass yourself. Trust me.
Trust me. It was a curious phrase. To most ponies, it was merely two simple words meant to punctuate an opinion. But to Scootaloo, it was a dare. Trust me. Even though experience has taught you that any pony who utters those words will let you down, but there was something in Rarity's smile, the same subtle, warm that Scootaloo had grown just the tiniest bit used to, that persuaded her that maybe Rarity was different. That maybe she saw something in Scootaloo that no other pony could see. Scootaloo took a deep breath, one last glance over at Rarity, and approached Toe Tapper.
I don't have anything prepared, but I'd like to audition for the advanced class anyway. Do you have a song I can dance to?
Oh, of course.
Toe Tapper put on a song. It was a simple instrumental piece, mostly modern influences built around classical foundation. It was the type of song played in dance classes throughout Equestria due to its even tempo and inoffensive melody. Scootaloo hadn't heard it before, but that didn't matter. After a few moments of listening, her eyes closed and she found what she was searching for: the beat. All songs had a beat, an underlying rhythm that governed how the rest of the song fit together. Everything else, the melody, the harmonics, were all ornamentation on a steady pulse of foundation. And as soon as Scootaloo found it, she began to smile for the first time in days. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, step, turn, step, step, turn, step. She started off slow, just moving in time with the song. But soon, her step, turn, step became step, pivot, shimmy, turn, step, dip. Her whole body began to move in perfect syncopation. Feeling more confident, she began to move faster, the turns becoming embellished with little flourishes, like a stutter or glide. Her front hooves swirled around, independent from the steps with her back hooves, but throughout the entire song her rhythm never faltered. 1, 2, 3, step, turn, step. As Rarity watched Scootaloo dance, pride welled up inside her. It felt similar to watching Sweetie's play. She had played a small part in both performances, and watching her efforts contribute to a little filly's success was gratifying in a way that few things were. The song ended and Scootaloo stood in the middle of the room, panting with shallow breaths, the result of both nerves and physical exertion. After a long moment of silence, Toe Tapper broke out in a polite but enthusiastic bow of applause, much to both Scootaloo and Rarity's relief.
Oh, that was wonderful! Your form faltered a little in the middle and your transitions could be smoother, but you're certainly no beginner.
Scootaloo beamed at the praise, Rarity enjoying the smile on her face more than anything else.
Our advanced class meets Tuesdays and Thursdays after schools, and and every other Saturday at 10 a.m.
Scootaloo recoiled inwardly at the prospect of having to wake up early on a Saturday, but that feeling was quickly smothered by her happiness at having achieved a small measure of validation. For the first time since yesterday, she wasn't thinking at all about Rainbow Dash or finding a family. The rest of the week quickly became a routine. Scootaloo would go to school, and Rarity would run the boutique during the day. Scootaloo would come home, they would share a meal, sometimes more conversations than others, and then sometimes Rarity would tuck Scootaloo in, and other times Scootaloo would insist on doing it herself. And on Thursday, Rarity walked Scootaloo home from dance, if for no other reason than it gave her a chance to check in with Toe Tapper about an upcoming Pony Tones rehearsal. So it came as something of a surprise when a knock on the door on Saturday revealed Autumn waiting for her with a pensive expression on his face. Good morning, Rarity. Is Scootaloo home?
No, she's with her friends this morning. I believe you can find them at Sweet Apple Acres.
At the news that Scootaloo wasn't home, Autumn released some of the tension he had been holding in his shoulders.
Can I assume this is not a social call?
Rarity noted his reaction. Her first instinct was that this was another one of those surprise inspections that he had warned about. Her next instinct was that he could be here to deliver some sort of terrible news, such as the family in Baltimore was demanding that Scootaloo move in with them. That didn't seem likely, but she was also still very unfamiliar with the possible scenarios involved with Scootaloo's adoption. No, it's not.
Then what can I do you for?
Lillian Treble would like to adopt Scootaloo. Savior's Complex. A complex wave of emotions coursed through Rarity. Joy, fear, relief, anger, confusion, all were present in the swirling storm coalescing in her chest.
Would you like to come in?
She hoped to buy herself some time before Autumn expected a coherent reaction. Rarity magically flipped the sign on her door to close, and Scootaloo's social worker followed her wordlessly to the kitchen. Once there, Rarity set about preparing some tea, thus continuing to avoid having to give a response. Autumn sat down at the table. I'm here to talk about how you want to handle the transition. Treble and Lily would like to break the news, and we think it would be good if Scootaloo was ready to move in sooner rather than later. These things can be difficult, especially for Scootaloo, and the quicker we can make the process happen, the easier it will be for Scootaloo to get adjusted. Rarity balked. The two teacups she was levitating from the cabinet faltering in midair. She thought about her initial impressions of both Lily and Treble. They didn't seem to be terrible ponies. If they had been a pair of alcoholic child abusers, then Rarity would have no problem digging in her heels. She'd be entirely justified in doing so, but they weren't. By all outward appearances, they were a loving couple looking to add a child to their family. Who was she to deny them that? Why would she want to? Because Scootaloo seems happy here. Well, happier, anyway. The idea that the boutique might actually be the best place for the little orange Pegasus began to take root. No, it wasn't Rainbow Dash's house, but she had begun to develop her own bond with Scootaloo. It was mostly poker-based, but bedtime and dance lessons were a part of it too. And if Rarity was being totally honest with herself, she found herself enjoying the pseudo-mother role she had fallen into more than she thought she would. Searching for a reason to preserve the status quo, she finally settled on one, while Autumn patiently drank his tea.
Do you really think it's going to be any different than the other home Scootaloo has moved into?
Frustratingly, Autumn didn't answer the question after taking another sip of his tea. It's not my job to try and predict the future. They seem to be kind, loving couple. I dug through their past with a fine-tooth comb and found nothing raised even the slightest red flag. I thought if they weren't sincere about trying to be good parents, I'd show them the door, but as far as I can tell, they are. That's all I can ask for.
I'm sure you thought about that the same way with the last family.
Rarity replied with a little more snide than she intended. Autumn ignored the dig and just nodded. Maybe, but I don't really have any other options.
What if you did?
Excuse me? Autumn put down his cup of tea.
What if there was another pony who wanted to adopt Scootaloo? What would happen?
That depends. Autumn spoke carefully. He stopped himself before he went off on a tangent about the nuances of custody laws. If there was an honest dispute, two families that genuinely want what's best for a child, the case is heard by an arbitrator. In this case, I would make a recommendation, as her case officer, that Scootaloo would have to testify who she'd prefer to live with. Since my recommendation would be highly contingent on what she wanted, it would basically be her choice.
I see.
Yes, but I don't have two families vying to adopt her. I have one. Rarity found the words spilling out of her before she could even consider their full implication.
I'd like to adopt her.
She really wasn't expecting Autumn to gush with praise. Oh, that's wonderful. I know this is the best place for her. But she also wasn't prepared for the reaction he did give. No, you don't. The stallion fixed Rarity with a firm stare.
I beg your pardon? Are you actually denying me to tell me that I do not want this?
It was more a reaction to having her wishes challenged than honest anger, but Rarity still found herself grinding her hooves into the ground beneath the table. If Autumn noticed the change in Rarity's tone, he didn't say anything. I've seen this before. A temporary foster parent grows a little bit attached, decides that it's time to save the child from some imagined horror, and volunteers to adopt, even if they haven't really considered what it's going to mean. It's called a savior complex, and it always ends with heartbreak. I will not put Scootaloo through that. This time, Rarity was unable to conceal her anger, her voice rising to a shriek and her nostrils flaring.
Oh, did it not? What's I mean? Hello?
Yes.
Okay. Is it good now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna try it again because I thought it hurt. Hold on. I do not have a savior's complex. If I wanted to if I had wanted to save something, I get myself involved into whatever Twilight's getting into these days. In fact, knowing Twilight, I'd probably be dragged into whatever is threatening Equestria this week anyway.
Being a social worker was not a job that came with a lot of perks. The hours were long and the pay was miserly. You were perpetually overworked, and the work you did manage to get was done unlikely in a result of fame or adoration. On top of that, it was pretty much guaranteed that you would encounter some truly horrific situations that would shake anyone's faith in equanimity. One only chose social work as a career because every so often there was a scared, helpless child whom only you could help. You got to actually tangibly help them. Autumn's first boss had taught him the satisfaction of seeing a child grow up happy and healthy because of your actions had better be enough reward because it was likely to be the only one you got. But there was one other thing Autumn enjoyed about his job. It gave him very thick skin. There was no good way to remove a child from a toxic home. Bad parents, even terrible parents, still loved their kids, albeit in a very hard-to-understand way. And like any pony would, they treated an attempt to take their kids away as a grievous insult. No matter how carefully the situation was handled, it resulted in Pony screaming at him with levels of rage and hatred that he was sure he would never be able to match about anything. And the child was often angry and scared to boot because he or she was being taken out of the only home they knew. But when the knowledge that a pony would literally kill you if there was a weapons within 4 legs' reach hung in the air, and you had to compartmentalize the fact and respond calmly because responding with righteous anger would only bring more emotion and volatility to a situation that had too much of both. Well, once you did that a few times, someone being mildly perturbed at your word choice wasn't a big deal. Rarity just sat there, glaring daggers at him, waiting for him to respond. He sighed. Rarity did have a point despite her emotional reaction. A temporary foster parent removing the temporary from their title wasn't unheard of. Either way, Rarity was a citizen asking to get the long process of adopting an eligible filly started. It was his job to do the due diligence, but he still needed to be sure that it was something Rarity really wanted, and right now it didn't seem like she even knew that herself. I will consider your application, provided that you take this week to really think about if this is what you want. You do that, come visit me next Monday, and if you still want to adopt, we can talk about how to proceed.
Fine. I trust that we do meet until you will delay whatever transition you planned.
Rarity spoke using the same clipped manner she reserved for unruly stallions at after-parties. I will.
Well, then, if there's nothing else...
Rarity glanced towards the door. Autumn nodded. Again, if he wasn't used to ponies saying significantly worse things to him, he would have been offended. I'll show myself out. Her boutique once again empty. Rarity sat in her parlor room, opting to keep the sign flipped to closed. She scooped Opal up in her hooves and carried her over to the couch, absent-mindedly stroking her cat's fur. As much as she was loath to admit it, she had uttered the words, "I'd like to adopt," without really considering what it would mean. Rainbow's objections, of all ponies, echoed in her head as she thought about her own reservations. I have plans, none of them involving dragging a kid around with me. Ray didn't have plans in the same way Rainbow did. In many ways, she was already living her dream. She was the proprietor of her very own specialty dress boutique. Ponies came from all over to order dresses designed and sewn by her. Canterlot was only a quick train ride away, and even going to Manhattan wasn't particularly onerous journey. The reason she didn't move to one of the bigger cities and open her shop in an area that was more accessible to a rich clientele was because she didn't have to. She liked Ponyville. Her family and friends lived there, and her clients were perfectly happy to come to her for a fitting session. She had no doubt that if she moved to Manhattan tomorrow to open up a shop, it would be a success, and because she didn't have to wonder if she could hack it in the big city where there was nothing particularly alluring about the bright lights. But what if one day there was? She took 2 trips to Manhattan a year, one in the fall and one in the spring, to participate in the fashion expos and galas that marked the changing of the fashion season. 2 weeks out of 52 didn't seem like a reason to uproot her life, but if she adopted Skulu, she wouldn't just be making her own decisions, she'd have somebody else's wishes to consider. Then there was the fact that she would be a single mother. Skulu would most likely grow up without a dad. Rarity took it for granted that she would meet a charming stallion and get married one day, but being a single mother with a small child was not a quality most stallions were looking for. And while she was sure she wouldn't want to be with any stallion who would reject her because she had a child, it was an obstacle. And didn't Skulu deserve a father of her own? If nothing else, Rarity was sure she could never fill that role. It was no secret that anyone who knew him that Hondo Flanks had always wanted a son. So when Pearl gifted him with 2 daughters, he channeled all the energy he planned to use teaching his son how to play hoofball and to being the best father to 2 little girls he could be. He attended tea parties as the guest of honor and let his daughters paint his hooves. Rarity had put bows in his mane and styled his tail. He had always wore a gigantic smile on his face while she did. The way his mustache still tickled when he offered her a nuzzle always brought her back to a simpler, happier time. Rarity loved her mom, but she absolutely adored her dad. If her own experience was anything to go by, depriving Skulu of that relationship seemed wrong somehow. She looked at Opal, hoping for some form of reassurance, but her cat remained fixated on the wall. If anything, Opal's concern was that the petting seemed to have momentarily stopped. Autumn is right, she thought. She needed to think long and hard about this before she committed to it. Ugh. Family. Skulu pranced home from her first dance lesson, a faint sparkle in her eye as she tried to get in a few practice steps on the journey. And deciding to adopt Skulu was an easy choice. Rarity watched Skulu fall asleep, her young mind momentarily free of worry for those few blessed moments between awake and unconscious, and deciding to adopt Skulu was a hard choice. Skulu didn't say much at dinner, opting to pick at her salad wordlessly, and deciding not to adopt Skulu was an easy choice. Skulu was adamantly refused to put her dishes in the sink, and deciding not to adopt Skulu was a hard choice, though he continued in that fashion, with Rarity going back and forth between the 2 choices, not unlike she did when she just couldn't decide if a dress needed a touch of purple or a touch of blue. All too soon, it was Sunday night. Autumn's 1-week deadline loomed, and Rarity was no closer to knowing what she wanted than she had been at the beginning of the week. She found herself at her parents' house, hesitating before she knocked on the door. She was visiting on a Sunday night, and wasn't in of itself unusual, but the reason of her visit obviously was different than the other fireside chats they had had over the years.
Rarity, come in, dear.
Cookie may not have been Pinkie Pie when it came to having a smile on her face, but she did come close, and even if she wasn't having the best day, she always had a smile for her family. Rarity made small talk with her mom for a few minutes, hearing about a new bread recipe she was excited about, and talking about her plans for her upcoming winter line of gowns. Eventually, a natural lull in the conversation invited a brief silence, and Rarity opted to fill it with the main reason she had come over.
Mom, how... Pardon, I need a lozenge. How did you know you were ready to be a parent?
Pearl's eyes went wide and a smile crept across her face.
Am I going to be a grandmother?
Rarity sighed as she realized that her mother was suffering the same misconceptions as Spike had.
Why does everyone assume... Never mind. I'm not pregnant, but I am considering adopting Scoodloo permanently.
Rarity paused as she considered that, in a way, she wasn't just making a decision for her and Scoodloo. She'd be inviting Scoodloo into her parents' and Sweetie's lives as well. Not that she expected any protest, but it was still something to consider.
So, I suppose that yes, you could be a grandmother.
Her mother looked at her, slightly bewildered, so Rarity quickly filled her in on everything that had happened over the past few weeks, including her present dilemma about whether to go through the process. When Rarity finished her story, Pearl's smile had returned.
That's wonderful, dear, and very generous of you. But that's not really a surprise.
Thank you, but I don't even know if she wants to stay with me. All of my hoof ringing, all of my hoof ringing may have proved to be for naught. But if I may ask again, how did you know you were ready to be a mother?
Her mother smiled, a comforting sort of smile, the kind that mothers everywhere were well versed in.
No one is ever ready to be a parent, dear. One day you wake up and by the end of the day you have this tiny foal who you can't imagine your life without. And then you just muddle through the best you can.
Her mother smiled again, an attempt at reassurance.
Your experience might be a little different than most mothers, but it's still the same.
Hearing that there wasn't some magical moment wherein the universe gifted a pony with the knowledge and judgment necessary to be a good parent made Rarity feel a little better about her uncertainty.
No, that does make sense. Thank you.
Rarity offered her mother a hug as she reflected on the idea that, no matter how old she was, a hug from her mother helped make everything just a little more bearable.
Is Dad home?
He's in the den.
Marshmallow! Hi, Daddy.
Rarity smiled at the one pony who could possibly get away with nicknaming her after a puffy food product.
What brings you to town tonight?
Hondo took the time to pause the hoofball game he had been watching moments before.
Daddy, did you enjoy going to tea parties?
Hondo's head jerked back in surprise. I've been to a lot of tea parties, but the last one of Rarity's he had attended was ages ago. It seemed to be a little late. Too you worried about how it went?
Of course I did. I got to accompany the prettiest filly in Equestria.
Hondo answered with a large grin, and Rarity blushed slightly.
Thank you, Daddy, but seriously, I can't imagine that you would choose to spend your free time pretending to sip tea and wearing bow ties in your hair.
Hondo chuckled audibly at the memory. Rarity could have been referring to any one of the number of tea parties she had insisted on getting him ready for, but it didn't matter. He also wasn't dense enough to think that Rarity was really feeling some sort of residual guilt for taking away his free time with tea parties.
What's this about, Marshmallow?
Again, Rarity found herself telling the story of how Skudlu came to live with her, her subsequent struggles in trying to make her happy, and her present dilemma about adopting her. When she arrived at the reason, she had sought her dad's particular insight.
I'm thinking of adopting Skudlu, and, well, we really don't have very much in common. I was just wondering if she'd be happier with a family with whom she'd shared at least some interest. Oh shit, this is my line.
Would you have been
Would-
happy?
yeah. Yeah, this is fuck. I fucked it up, guys. Would you have been happier if I knew more about dresses and tea parties?
Hondo asked with a tilt of his head. Rarity responded with a shake of her head.
No, I wouldn't want you to be any pony other than who you are.
Hondo didn't say anything. He just raised an eyebrow until Rarity came to the conclusion that they both knew was inevitable. Families didn't have to have anything in common. other than being a family. Rarity offered her father another nuzzle before leaving him to his sports. Her first two family members had offered their support, and now there was only one more voice she needed to hear from: Sweetie's. Brow furrowed in concentration, a bead of sweat trickled down her forehead, and the pink tip of her tongue jutted out from the side of her mouth as both her horn and the book on the other side of the room radiated a green light. However, despite Sweetie's considerable efforts, the book only levitated a few inches off the table before the green glow flickered and disappeared, causing the book to crash back down, leaving Sweetie gasping for breath.
Hello, Sweetie.
Sweetie Belle wheeled around and smiled at her big sister.
Hi, Rarity. What are you doing here?
I realized that we haven't been able to see each other much in recent, and so I wanted to see how you are doing.
I'm still not very good at magic. How are things going with Scootaloo? He seems a bit happier sometimes. But either way, I'm trying very hard to be the best friend I can be, just like you said.
I know you are, dear. I am sure that Scootaloo is very grateful of your efforts.
There was no good way to broach the next part. Sweetie's opinion mattered to both her and Scootaloo, and that meant Rarity needed to phrase her next question carefully.
While we're on the subject, how would you feel if I adopted Scootaloo?
Sweetie's face lit up like a heart-storming tree, but then the expression quickly turned to almost fearful. Finally, a resigned determination asserted itself over the smaller unicorn's features. Rarity could only watch, completely unaware of the thought process behind the rapid transformation.
Sweetie?
I guess if you adopt Scootaloo, we won't be able to get to spend as much time together. But that's okay. If it means Scootaloo gets to be happy, then I want you to do it.
Oh, Sweetie Belle, come here, darling.
Rarity scooped her little sister into a hug, and sitting down on the floor, keeping her little sister snuggled close, she continued.
You know, dear, I remember having a similar conversation with Mom and Dad when they told me I was getting a little sister.
Sweetie's face lit up again.
That was me!
Yes, it most certainly was.
Sweetie shifted around so that she was more comfortable, but still snuggled firmly in the embrace.
So what happened?
I'm afraid I wasn't as magnanimous as you just were. I was so worried that Mom and Dad would be so busy with the new baby that they would forget all about me. I made up my mind right then and there that I was not going to like you, no matter what.
Sweetie's face fell.
Oh. Did you change your mind?
Rarity playfully nuzzled her little sister.
Yes, dear. You were just the most adorable fool ever. With your big green eyes and little chubby hooves.
Rarity playfully pinched Sweetie's still squishy hoof.
I fell in love with you instantly.
Sweetie giggled and playfully yanked her hoof away.
Anyways, Mom and Dad promised me that even though babies demanded a lot of attention, they would always make some time for me, and they did.
That was nice of them.
Yes, dear. So I'm going to make sure that I maintain the same promise to you. No matter how busy I get, I will always have time for my precious little sister.
Sweetie rested her head against Rarity's soft chest fluff, unable to think of anything else to say. Rarity returned home much surer of herself than when she left. It wasn't that her family had told her anything she didn't already know. It was that they reminded her of the important thing that her family was there for each other. While she wasn't sure about a lot of things related to motherhood, she was sure that she could be there. The next morning, Rarity found herself at the full services office. The fact that Skulu had spent the night insisting that she was fine and didn't need anyone for anything did nothing to affect Rarity's decision. The receptionist escorted through the now familiar hallways back to Autumn's office, where Simon was sitting at his desk covered in papers. Rarity wasn't sure if any of the files near the top were Skulu's, but she wouldn't have bet against it. Autumn looked up at her expectantly, waiting for her to speak first.
I owe you an apology. The other day I was rude. You were just doing your job, and even if you weren't, you were a guest in my home that I treated you so coarsely is unbecoming of me as both a lady and a host.
Rather than accept her apology with any sort of grace, Autumn started laughing. You think that was rude? Sorry, but I'm used to ponies kicking me out in far less ambiguous language.
That still does not excuse my behavior.
Autumn got his reaction under control and nodded, stifling one last guffaw. Very well. I accept your apology.
Thank you.
So, why are you here? The question was loaded with enough weight to let Rarity know that Autumn was not merely making small talk.
I'd like to adopt Scootaloo.
It wasn't the first time that Rarity had uttered those words, but it was the first time she said them fully aware of the weight they carried. Autumn pulled a notepad out of his desk and grabbed a pen. Why? Rarity recited her planned response to the anticipated question.
Because I think that she'd be happier with me. And if you or Lily or her disagree, then that's fine. But I should at least be allowed to make the offer.
When we first met, you said very plainly that you had no interest in adopting her. What changed? Rarity anticipated this question too.
I got to know her better. And I learned some things about myself too. One of them being that the idea of being a mother isn't as scary as I thought it would be.
What about your career and your friends? Have you considered how they would change if this goes forward? Autumn didn't look up from his notes.
I imagine that my entire life would change quite a bit, though I suppose that would be true irrespective of this delusion.
Are you prepared for that?
As well as anyone can be. I'm sure no one is completely ready to be a parent when they first start out.
Autumn nodded, accompanying the gesture with a quiet while continuing to take notes. What would you do if one day Scootaloo came home with drugs? For the first time that morning, Rarity balked at the question she was not expecting.
She's 8! I don't think I have to worry about that just quite yet.
Just answer the question, please. Rarity fumbled around for a response. Having not considered that drugs would be a question, she was expected to know the answer to.
I don't know what I would do. I'd like to say I'd sit down and have a calm, rational talk why drugs are bad, but it's entirely possible I'd freak out. So if you're asking if I have a contingency for every mistake I might possibly make, then the answer is no.
Autumn looked up from his notepad, put down his pen, and smiled. You passed.
Past what?
The two biggest mistakes I see in prospective parents making are thinking they have all the answers, and believing that a child is going to fix something wrong with their lives. You seem to be avoiding those critical pitfalls. I've already done your background check. Both know it's squeaky clean, and Scootaloo seems well cared for so far, so if you'd like to adopt her, you're a strong candidate. While Rarity was inwardly glad she had passed whatever preliminary screening Autumn had just thrown at her, she knew that she also knew that that wasn't her biggest obstacle.
What happens now?
Well, that's kinda up to Scootaloo.
So how do we tell her?
Find out in the next episode! Well, yeah, possibly the next episode.
I was not expecting Cole to respond to me when
Okay, so, Cole, can I ask you something?
Yes?
Okay, you were reading the script, right?
Yeah.
So how is it that you are reading one thing and that out of your mouth comes other words?
Simple. I flubbed up and I tried my damnedest to fix it.
he was relatively good with everything. There was irrespective of this decision, you had irrespective of this delusion. That's the biggest issue there.
I did not expect I was going to be. I did not expect I was going to be reading for Rarity tonight.
Yes, had I caught what Sora was saying, I would have thrown you Cookie, and I would have taken Rarity.
Yeah.
I tried to throw Hondo to Sky, but
and then he had to leave.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I thought you said you weren't going to try to do New Yorker. You're going to do your voice for Hondo Flanks, but you actually tried. Dear God.
Well, I tried to do a voice. I tried my damnedest to do New Yorker, and then eventually just started to sound like a Muppet. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it, fine.
It was not beautiful.
It left me with hysterics. It was beautiful.
No, it was painful to hear.
Yeah, that didn't go so well. Gold star for effort, though,
Well,
right?
I guess I'm glad that everyone else had fun with it.
Oh,
jeez.
The only other thing was it's not miserly, it's miserly.
Yeah, miserly.
That's a Winchester misread.
Yeah, that was
okay.
Winchester.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. I didn't recall it, but at the same time, too, I wouldn't put it past myself for completely forgetting what I just read. Ah, jeez.
Okay.
Well, I will say, if I had the time to read through all of Rarity's lines ahead, that probably would have gone just as bad. Actually, yeah, probably. Yeah.
Well, I think that went all right. So
at least I did. At least I tried for Rarity. At least I tried.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be a Winchester Wednesdays reading without one person forgetting to unmute themselves for their thing, and me accidentally reading over another character's lines instead of the narration. And then me also reading in my head instead of reading out loud.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that reminds me of the end of Narrate Top. It's at that moment, or it was not till 12 blocks later that I realized that the last thing I said was in my head, and time cannot be changed. Except for if you use the little knob in the back of the clock, I guess. Details, details.
Oh, but the reading tonight reminded me of how long it's been since we've actually done reading.
Oh, no. Winchester,
Yeah.
what happened?
Well, no, mostly that what I had to do to try and get a Scootaloo with my deeper tones and sort of exhausted, kind of tired of this day of hell that just happened. I got out of breath. I had to mute and take deep breaths every so often because I just couldn't.
Yeah, I had a few instances like that where I was just like, holy crap, how did I get through that wall of text?
Oh,
But
I'm just glad I was able to make it through most of the rarity lines practically unscathed for the most part. Mostly.
it was very well. There were a couple of flubs, but you kept moving, and that's what you do. You keep moving.
just
basically-
keep swimming, just keep swimming, just keep
Although
swimming.
the fact that you stumbled over coarsely caught me off guard.
Who, me?
No, me.
Oh.
That I treated you so coarsely is unbecoming of me, and as both a lady and a host.
And by the
Like
way,
like I
she
said, I
just
didn't get
skipped
to read
over the
ahead.
word.
What?
She just skipped over the word.
No, she imbroglio. I thought I heard it.
No,
I vaguely
I remember her skipping
tried.
over it.
I might have. I don't know.
No,
No,
Can't
no.
remember.
That was
still when
Sora
Sora
was still
was
here.
there.
Oh, okay. Coarsely. Yeah. It pays to
Not coerce, coarse.
coarse. Oh.
As in hard, rough. Roughly.
Oh, coarsely. All right. Yeah. That's a word that I don't see very often in train books.
Yeah.
The train rumbled coarsely down the tracks. They were not very smooth.
They don't go like that, Winchester. It's just talking about the bland history, which to me is amazing, and everyone else it's bland. I learned some interesting things about boxcars the other day.
All right, and on that bombshell.
I love how he totally thought that I actually did have a lot to say about box. I don't. But
So, is it shout
You
out
would
to
have a lot to say about anything train related.
yes, I do. Mostly, I guess. Well, not anything. I don't know anything about like the UP big boys or anything.
So
I vaguely know some things about the Malays. That's the closest I get.
So yes. Anyways, let's get. It's time for us to end. Next week,
Now it's
hopefully
time
we'll
for
be
so
able to do
long.
another reading. The week after, I will not be around. I will be going down to Springfield for work training, and then the week after that is kind of a crapshoot. I think that I'll be around, but yeah, I might also be kind of short on time because I'm flying out to Phoenix the next day for Painted Desert FurCon. So yeah.
Well,
But,
hopefully next time we do the reading that all of our cats can stay together. If things don't come up. Yeah.
But,
So I too also hope for another reading next week. I believe we have like maybe three or four readings. at
Winchester,
most.
are you still on you're on the wrong scene. What are you scrolling through? Why does it look like your email?
that is because it is my email. Don't worry, it's mostly just random YouTube videos. The only thing they might have seen is some audio-visual stuff for BronyCon, but nothing important.
But yeah. We have three or four at the very most, more sessions before this story's over.
Sadness.
Yeah. But hopefully we won't take like 2 or 3 months to pick the next story.
Yeah, we should get looking at things now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
we
just don't
probably
know what's the
should.
best way to search for things.
I wish I wasn't so, like, bleh and trying to find stuff lately. I've just been slammed.
I'm curious. Has anyone else been reading
Actually,
double
no.
D fan fiction lately?
I thought I had actually just gotten something recently to me. I need to take.
I've met a group of people on Discord. One of them is regularly trying to do like stuff for printing fan fictions, and that collection's been going nicely.
What's in my read it later that? Because I thought I saw something that might be cute, interesting in the past week.
So, but, anyways, without further ado, I guess we'll do shoutouts. So, starting off, I guess we'll do Double R Forest.
Okay. So, shoutouts to this lovely story, and oh, well, I had one other idea, but that would be mean, especially to Coldust. I'm not going to go that.
I mean, that's fair, dude. Fire at will.
Shoutouts to giving Coldust as few opportunities to read as possible.
Yep, that's valid. Hey, I do okay if you give me enough time to read ahead, and also it's a vaguely British or northeastern United States accent, except for New York. Can't do that one apparently, or Bostonian. Don't give me that one either. Very specific.
What
So no
about
Peter
Vermontian?
Griffin. Okay.
Nah, I can't do the country stuff.
Oh, so alrighty. Well, next on to Coldust.
Now it's time for so long, but we'll sing just one more song. Thanks for doing your part. You sure are smart. We can do anything that we wanna do.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I
Alrighty,
got.
And next on to CMC.
Hold on. First, Sky Rays had shoutouts for Sora for playing Rarity and Double R for bringing together a nice reading. Fires, explosions, Eloise, Roan. I can't breathe right now because my I still feel that in my lungs there.
Can you feel it, Mr. Krabs?
No. I can't feel it. I can't breathe. I'm dying.
You feel something coming on.
Ooh.
But the zombie hit me once with an arm, not bite.
Exactly. So,
And it was the tip of the arm. I was almost out of range.
isn't the tip of the arm the finger?
Yes. So, Winchester, your shoutouts.
Who said I got shoutouts?
Hey Winchester. Hey Winchester. So
What?
how's it for a fanfic? How Spike kinda sorta maybe married a changeling. Spike doesn't understand what went wrong. Spike doesn't understand what went on either. All he knows is that several thousand bugs call him daddy now.
That story's not finished yet, so it wouldn't work.
Damn it.
How do you know what story this is and link this at me, Cole?
Because it was featured. Because it was on the top 10 feature list earlier today. Because it
is
for the first time in a year and a half.
Hold on, I'll post into the Winchester Wednesdays chat.
Anyways, I guess my shoutouts. So, shoutouts go out to all these wonderful people that we've had reading. Thank you for Coldust for showing up last minute and getting roped into this.
Hey!
Sky Rays and Sora for doing their wonderful voice acting. Yes. Also, shouts out to Double R Forest for getting these edited every week and putting up with me putting it off for weeks on end due to all of my random bullshit.
Hey, trust me, it's quite the challenge, but I do it for you.
For me or the viewers?
You mean when you say viewers?
I mean Toko and Commander.
I gotta be honest, the way that you like inflected on "I do this for you," I just made me think of that commercial there of "I learned it from you, Dad."
I did because I love you.
And I guess I should also say, I guess I should also say, Clouded Draconicus, and if they happen to be watching, I don't know if that's a Frozen game with Cool Dude or Cool Dude 13-233. That really sounds like a Frozen one, as well as Dimension. And Skyboy, I'm assuming Skyboy is Skyrays, but I could be wrong.
Skyrays left.
So, well, Skyrays may have just had to come out of
And
what's the point of leaving
streams in the
chat,
Twitch chat?
screen?
I forgot to open up the other chats today. Yay.
Alrighty, so there's probably lots of people that I'm missing, and
No, there's just the one person that chatted in the Twitch chat that apparently was invited by Sora.
Oh, okay.
Oh, nice.
Who was that?
Rexy Streams.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, I was gonna say I thought I recognized your name, Draconicus. So, yeah.
Toa, you're already in the IRC. I don't need to mention you.
Also, one person that has been here ever since we've started streaming. Give a big round of applause to Infobot.
Oh yeah.
I don't trust Infobot. I mean, come on.
Infobot.
I mean, come on. Look what happens when I do this.
I'm worried. But yes, thank you to all the lovely viewers.
And also, thank you to the Winton 201A engine. That's right, the Winton 201A motor. That
Okay,
basically...
I think this is Coldust trying to get us to end stream, so...
Yes, but the robot just gave you a potato when I just said potato.
Secretly, I just want to make people aware of the Winton 201A motor, because it got the ball rolling. And by the ball, I mean trains. Diesel trains. Diesel electric trains. Thank you, Winton 201A.
Winchester, what's the schedule for this coming week?
Is shooting myself on it?
We can add it.
I've got a camera. I can help.
Not that kind of shooting myself.
Oh, I'm not into drugs. I'm sorry.
So yes, all of the other things that go on the network throughout the week. So Thursdays, Silent Blast I think still does his thing over on his Twitch stream, so go check that out. And then Fridays is Roan RPG stream.
Yep.
Did I see that Saturdays are now open?
Creature is on a hiatus as he is on a thing for his job.
Yeah, so no Gaming Meltdown this week or for the soon time. But yeah, so and then Sunday we have Circuits Let's Play where you can go and enjoy that. And then Monday we have the Equestrian Flag Stop, which is Coldust's weird little pre-show that he does.
Yes,
for
it
the Brony
is.
Show, where you can catch up on all your Brony news. And then Tuesday, we don't really have much going on, but sometimes Cyril streams, or sometimes Sora streams, or sometimes LOL streams, or yeah. So go check those out. And then Wednesday, honestly, we might as well just change the time to 8:45 because we're never ready by 8:30. But we still say 8:30, so that way we're ready by 8:45.
Hey, sometimes we're ready by that time.
Not really.
If you let me have control, I will fight those kind of things. But if you every time that it's just a reading or a random whatever, it can go weird, or sometimes we start early for because yes, gaming.
Yes. So
Yes.
anyways, without further ado, it's time.
Ugh.
Goodbye.
I'm wearing jeans, damn it.
It's time to duel.
No, Coldust. It's time to duel. That's there.
And with that, we'll end it.
I work the hardest when the sun is setting. I play the numbers, but I keep forgetting. My broken heart, my beaten chest, my blackened scars, my bated breath, my callous lungs, my empathy, my tired eyes, my hopes and dreams. I don't wanna work myself to death. I don't wanna break your concentration. Can I ever learn to love myself? Will I ever cure my loneliness? I don't wanna heed my own advice. I wanna feed my desperation. Even when the dirges start to play, maybe I'll enjoy the silence. A marble counter and a plastic ghetto, a candy corset and a pink stiletto. My tangled mane, my tattered seams, my tiny thoughts, my reveries, my weathered veins, my hollow frame, my horoscope, my twisted fate. I don't wanna work myself to death. I don't wanna break your concentration. Can I ever learn to love myself? Will I ever cure my loneliness? I don't wanna heed my own advice. I wanna feed my desperation. Even when the dirges start to play, maybe I'll enjoy the silence.
Hard knocks felt born as the nighttime tea parties rolled on. Dreamlike, everything tinted by the soft salmon horizon. Guided by giant little invisible hands and feet. She prayed some far dreamer would take her away.
And when the doctor writes his last prescription, he'll shake his head to stave my sad addiction. My swollen neck, my second skin, my bloodied socks, my crooked chin, my wooden teeth, my splintered spine, my cause, my pain, my God, my name. I don't wanna work myself to death. I don't wanna break your concentration. Can I ever learn to love myself? Will I ever cure my loneliness? I don't wanna live my life alone. I don't wanna plead with my own shadow. Baby, when the hard knock life is won, do you think I'll stop forgetting?
Thank you all for showing up. It's been fun. And without further ado, it's time to sign off. So, this is Winchester 572 going 10-7. I'm out. Bye-bye.